a beautiful fall morning in Boston. I am so excited to welcome all of you to Tulip's headquarters here in Somerville, Massachusetts. I'm sure most of you have heard already, and if you haven't, then I'm going to share that the place we're in right now is called Assembly Row, and Tulip's headquarters is actually built in a former Ford assembly plant, which I think is so fitting as really a meeting place for all of the folks here today. Quick introduction, my name is Madeline Castillo, and I'm the CMO here at Tulip Interfaces, and this is Operations Calling, the second time we're doing it, but hopefully the second of many. And before I introduce Natan Linder for our opening remarks here, I just want to comment and encourage you all to think about something today. So one of the things that we really value and want to be clear across this event is that this is a celebration of people in operations. We want this to be a place of community and discussion and really a cultural celebration of all of the great things that we've learned in operations, and just have a really great conversation. So think about the people who are sitting next to you, talk to them, listen and engage with the speakers, and really have a great day. And with that, I would love to welcome to the stage our CEO and co-founder of Tulip, Natan Linder.
Good morning. Yeah, Operations Calling, take two. You know, when we sold out this year, I was like, what's going to happen? Like, what's going to happen next year? So if we keep going, I don't know. If we love this venue. We love bringing you here to see where we work and where we build the Frontline operation platform. But we might need a bigger venue. But you know, this year, it's also a special year for us. We're celebrating 10 years, if you believe it. So it's a huge milestone, and this takes some getting used to. You know, I think when we started this vision, we always thought about the people who are making things and what are they making with Tulip. So I wanted to share a little bit about that. So as it informs what we've actually been doing, helping organizations and people build great products. And it's been power tools and, you know, medical abutments and devices with Dentsply, bikes with Trek, boats, drugs. So proud of the work we're doing in life science, diagnostics and devices that help save life day in and day out, timepieces, printed goods. So really, there's no shortage of industries we've touched and helped transform. But you know what remained pretty clear in this journey so far, that operation has been extremely hard. And even 10 years in, with all this technology, it is not getting easier. I talk to many CX levels all the time, and the factory people, the engineers, and everyone is struggling with the same stuff. And I won't belabor you with the usual things you hear, shortages of people that they can train and put to work. People need to set up new factories. We're feeling it very much in the US, but also in APAC, where I spend a bunch of my time. People are also shutting down factories. So this is not a simple way to deal with a global supply chain that is dynamic. And you know, when you ask ChatGPT, and I use it just to make a fine point here, because even 10 years later, now we have like a global compiler to how we think about stuff. So everybody's showing you like this beautiful type of renderings with everything is connected, AI, machines, but the people are still there. But in my experience, you know, when I go to shop floor, sometimes what I see is stuff like that. So this might be your executive team coming to visit the factory, and they don't come often enough. This is the number one advice I'm giving people: like, go to the factory and see this. And like, some of you may have imagined, like, when I'm looking at this picture, what do I actually see? So obviously the big dogs are your CEO and your CFO, and their grim look is like, where is my digital transformation? Why is it not moving faster? What does it actually mean? You know, for them, they want growth, they want lower costs, they want speed. And but there's some good news in this picture, that I started seeing the IT and OT dogs coming in together. And we should not be confused about who is the big dogs and who are the little dogs here, because the pressures are not going to die down. Stuff is going to keep going, because companies have no other way to stay competitive. The operations people, if you look at their impression, and it took me a long time to get this right with ChatGPT, is we know what to do. We actually know what to do. We just need the tools. We need the architectures to do that. And the biggest mistake people make is they're still not doing one simple thing, which is starting with the problems and the pain points of the business and empower the frontline operation people to solve them, as opposed to like having endless debates on technology. And in many ways, and this is, I'm stealing from another head of operations and CIO I was meeting. They were talking about how they perceive Tulip, and I love this. They're talking about is if you guys are the quarterback platform, and I was like, this is so deep, but actually turn it back on the people in operations, on those leaders, because quarterbacks are, and I'm not an expert in football, to be clear, but I've been taught well by many friends here. They're the leaders of the offense. They call the shots, they talk to the coach, they set the play, they make decisions, they read the defense, they know what to do. In summary, they take action. Bad quarterbacks are basically passive quarterbacks. And, basically the quarterbacks of today, you all just need an architecture to push all your game plays. And that's what we're here for. And this event, as Maddie mentioned, has always been about ecosystem first. And ecosystem not in general, because I think ecosystem is pretty generic. Everybody has APIs and online learning, things like that. But ecosystem that works for operations. And that's a easy thing to say and a hard thing to do, if you ask me. And the way I think about it is, look, and I don't think we should spend too much time convincing each other that the cloud is here, AI is here, large-scale event buses that support things like UNS is here. It's all here. The question is, are you here? Are you ready for this architecture? And yesterday, and Steve, I'm sorry if I'm embarrassing you, but I took something like from what he said in the Groundbreaker Awards that Generac received for their great work. To me, this architecture is like a decision, and there's a fine line there, whether you're going to live by someone dictating the rules for you, or you're going to make the rules. Please don't be confused with like, is citizen development in scale working and governance, things like that. There's a lot that we're putting into the platform to enable that, and that's going to get better and better. So that's not really the discussion. The discussion is like, who controls your architecture? You or vendors that are fundamentally have an architecture that doesn't allow you to build this. That's at least how I'm thinking about this. So I really encourage people to create your own rules here. One thing that informed this is, and the first announcement making today, we've seen the ecosystem demand this. We've seen connectors reach over 10 million hits a month. The rate of API calls is 350 million a month, and automation by end of this year will hit a rate of 500 million a month. So this is 500 million a year. So this is fundamental to how people are constructing actions and making use of data using this type of new architecture. And there's a name for these architecture. It's composable. We have quite a few guests from Gartner here today, so I will leave the formal definitions and debate to them, but I want to explain to you what it means to me. So for me, it's like you compose or you decompose, and some of your architecture, and in my role as chief provocator, I got to give you this. If you're not working on a composable architecture, you're likely working on some sort of decomposition of your current architecture because you're not moving fast enough. And to me, speed relates to the strategy. So composable architecture, what it needs to do is to inform what's a good digital transformation strategy that, as you all know, is never done. And it's about speed, momentum, and agility. And every single customer that scaled, and keep in mind that Tulip, 80% of our business is enterprise customers, so multi-sites, thousands of users. They have some sort of a curve like that. And the thing I'm interested in here, and to be very open about this, speed doesn't mean the digital transformation does not take time. This could take 3 years journey easy when you're talking about multi-sites. And there's also sometimes asymmetry between how many apps are impacting how many users. So you can have a couple of apps impacting hundreds and thousands of users, and you can have one value stream with 50 people that has 20 apps on it, or 20 stations for that matter. But there is a correlation, especially when you get to multi-sites, that this kind of curve tells the story. And it's really about adoption at scale, so how quickly you can go live and create value. And the solution that I want to have you all thinking about in not being slaves to old architecture is how you actually grow composable production systems, which is, we have another session of that I'm plugging here. If you want to listen to that one, come later today. We'll talk about this more. And yeah, so we've been busy taking frontline operations as a tool to create such production systems. And of course, we evolved from helping discrete manufacturers and life science manufacturers build such platforms. And the first thing we've put out there is the Composable MES for discrete. This was back in Hanover. And it's basically taking our combined experience the past decade, putting it in a library with a whole host of templates, application that control your entire operation from inventory to production management. I think it's roughly 23 or 24 applications in 3 suites that you can start from a single app, you can start downloading all of them, and very quickly configure and push to production a full-blown MES that is composable. That's pretty exciting, and we've seen that be a new driver for a whole new set of conversations. We've put together, the team's done an incredible job putting together a full demo of this in the tech. You can see how it supports an EDHR process for discrete manufacturing right in the tech. So we've taken everything we've learned there, and today what we're showing is how you take it to other type of manufacturing environments. So from discrete to hybrid discrete, this is the CMS Pharma announcement and launch, which has been a focus for the team, and really, really proud of what we've achieved here. So let me show you what it can do. Take the same approach for Composable MES and take it and trying to apply it in a regulated GXP-driven environment is incredibly, incredibly hard. You have to figure out how every piece of the operation talks to each other, from operations like weigh and dispense to all the way to packaging, your EBRs, your line clearances, all those things have to come together. And we, from more or less the beginning of the company, worked on having a fully validated platform and supporting a full, in this case, solid dose type of operation in this specific example, but very soon many more will follow, because that's the power of what platform and content can do. You can see the evolution of single apps becoming a full process supported by a common data model that is underlying this entire composable approach. And what this does is allows you to deploy faster and keeping stuff in check in terms of regulation. In fact, if you notice the weigh and dispense application, and this is just the beginning of this, the weigh and dispense application comes pre-validated. And Daniela, who will follow here, will talk about that. And we've heard also from AstraZeneca how this has been a really important part of how operations go forward and actually use stuff like that in production. What drives this is our common data model, as I mentioned. This is a view of how it evolved to also support hybrid discrete. You can see all this in the tech. What's interesting that we've added to the common data model from the pure discrete, a lot of elements that would support batch processing and match them up with templates that are available in the library, and you can easily download and start working with them to transform your operation. The next thing we've done is once you have those composable architecture is add UNS capabilities. this is based on features, our support for MQTT, OPC-UA, things like that. But what's more interesting is this is a UNS that is based on the same ecosystem approach. So with partners like HiByte and HiveMQ, Snowflake, you're seeing all the critical information coming from your pH meters or your scales, bioreactors, and so on, flow back and forth. What I find, important about this is the fact that, talking to devices, sensors, machine is pretty easy. And, you can get this contextualized data and you can move it from point A to B. And I think that's great. But getting the people, what they're doing, what the system that they're using is adding to the information that is required to describe a full process is missing. And that's what Tulip is doing, also via automations and other elements of our edge stack. And we have this demo out there for life science. We have it also for discrete. So please check it out and start thinking about how your composable production system can become built in directly with a UNS. So these were two examples of composability for life science, pharma, and discrete. But I don't think composability stops at just those types of operations. In fact, the operations, as you know, is rich with machines, and they're custom, and they come from various vendors. And the machines are actually getting smarter and more composable themselves, and we've been hard at work at it. These are environments that might look like this. So this is a DMG Mori factory and one of the automated lines that support very massive CNC machining. And those machines are very sophisticated, expensive tools that they don't work in isolation. They need to work in context of the work that they're actually helping produce. The exercise here, and this is what we've done with CellosX, and you can walk over to the DMG line and see the DMU 75 there that shows CellosX. It's kind of a simple question. It's like, how do you take a machine like that and turn it into more like an iPhone, basically supporting applications that look like this? So you can interact with your phone, and you can interact with composable workflow directly on the HMI of the machines. We took this approach also when we partnered with Rockwell to add Tulip directly to the optics development environment, so you can take it into HMI, from the HMI, classic HMI approach that has very robust, static, well-defined interfaces, and next to it add context from dynamic no-code that can go back and forth, share the data in real time, and have best of both worlds. This opens up the door to building all new kinds of machine testing rigs and so on. One example of that you can see, very beautiful, and so thankful for our friends at Sartorius who brought over this amazing bioreactor, and I want one for my kitchen. So pretty. But they're actually taking this approach and implementing a connected smart bioreactor using Tulip. So this is not just maybe happening, it's already happening. Another example is the work we're doing with Hexagon alongside AWS and Landing that allows for continuous quality, because the information flow from a computer vision algorithm that detects this piece of paper. Paper is not completely gone from operations. Don't try and kill all the paper just yet, it'll take time. But quality, you kind of want to have all the critical measurement before you ship out an order. And all that is flowing pretty directly with now our internal support for more complex models with Landing AI. So this stuff is changing the traditional way of having HMI and having like 3 different computers supporting these important operations mapped into one system. So this is all good, but maybe you're asking yourself, why should you care about this? I care about it, but well, more importantly, you should care about this. Let me actually do this. So the reason you should care about it is very simple. We talked about speed, agility, but there's another one that is very big, that is cost. Because basically, I think that the past 2 decades of industrial software, B2B industrial software, sucks. It's expensive, it's complex. You can count, you can have a matrix of the RFPs and the system integration required to do this, and you'll get to many, many, many millions of dollars, sometimes billions. I can't name anyone who might be having a project in the billions, but it is a crazy amount. And the reality is that you likely, for operations, don't need an entire QMS. You don't need necessarily an entire LIMS or CMMS, because all of these systems have overlapping features. It will take time, but with content that comes from a composable platform like Tulip, you can start covering the cases, and customers are in fact doing this. And again, this is another shameless back to our friends at Gartner here, seeing like some of the surveys that the adoption rates of, core features that come within MOM, MES in the traditional sense, and other packages is like not used. And the reason is the same. It's a cost complexity of making it work and getting to real impact. So people are opting to, focus on the core system that they need, overlooking or resorting to paper and other solutions, spreadsheets, custom software, what have you. And that's just like, it's not going to cut it in the next decade. So, and we're focused, we just finished the first one, so we should be focused on the next decade, And I think the future is basically what I call composable X and programmable. So, we spent 30 years, more or less, and I know I'm going to get pushback on this from some people, and that's okay. This is kind of a safe place. 30 years of data models that nobody can agree on. But at the same time, the internet grows exponentially, and there are really tried and tested blueprints and architecture, and we need to put them together because that's the infrastructure that runs the world. And I like to think about it from the context of operations as action-driven architectures. And at the risk of coining a new buzzword or getting tar and feathers for doing one while hating buzzwords, to me, action-driven architecture is what allows you to continuously improve your operation, because that's really what it's all about. And you see it in the number of automations, you see it in the number of apps, and you see people solving problems. And if you go back to where we started here, you all are the quarterback of your new production system. It's actually happening, and the people who feel it and see it in their operation can tell you, and they're all here, and I encourage you all to talk about it. So enjoy this day, and thank you for coming, and operation is calling you, so let's go.